Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning from Canada, and welcome to our webinar. My name is Eric Jin. I'm a regional manager, Southeast Asia, including Japan and China. This is our series of an NC New Students Information Session, updating for July 17. Today is a Friday, and the weather is very beautiful this morning, and temperature 20 Celsius, and we're expecting over 29 Celsius this afternoon. So very bright and very good weather today here is Niagara. Today we will have a couple of topics. So first, the housing updating, and second, event and engagement information by our Natalie, our housing engagement, our event coordinator, and also academic spotlight, and also our international student advisor updating. And finally, we will have a question and answer section. So if you have any question, please using our Q&A box. Don't typing on chat box. So if you have any question, please using our Q&A box to your question. So we will answer end of our webinar series. So let's start beginning of our housing updating from our Karan housing coordinator. So Karan, are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Perfect. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever the time is in your country. I'm glad you guys could join. So I'm just going to start sharing my screen. Eric, can you confirm if you can see my screen? Or anybody else?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we're going to talk about the mandatory quarantine, which you would have to go in once you arrive. So this is the document issued by Government of Canada. And for now, we are using this document as a Bible to prepare your quarantine plan to offer you when you will be here. So our quarantine, the Niagara College quarantine plan is still in making, and we are finalizing little bits of it. And that's little parts of it, and then it will be out for public very soon. So hopefully before we meet again next week, we will have our quarantine plan, and then we'll go in detail talk about that. So what is a mandatory quarantine? Right after you arrive, you must quarantine for 14 days, but also you have to monitor yourself for any symptoms. As you know, coronavirus is a very asymptomatic disease. You won't feel any symptoms in initial stages, but if you do know you have support, you would have medical check-ins, and then we will be there to support you. So in case you do develop any symptoms, you just have to get in touch with us, and then we'll connect you directly with Niagara Health or the proper health facility. So what's gonna happen? As you arrive from your country, right from the airport, you would have to go into quarantine facility. So either it's gonna be, if you're arriving by yourself and you have opted the option that you would choose your quarantine space yourself, the CBSA officer at the border is going to ask you for a detailed plan of your quarantine stay. They want to know where you'll be staying. They want to know how you'll be getting your foods. They want to know if you have any current medical conditions. They want to know if you're carrying enough medicines, enough supplies for those 14 days. So make sure you're ready you prepare yourself, and you have all those answers, and you have all those documentations to show that this is what you will be doing. If you are quarantined, if you're saying that you will quarantine at a friend's house, a family member's house, a friend's house, you do have to provide information that no person or no vulnerable individual lives there. So who is a vulnerable individual? Somebody who is 65 or older, or already have a compromised immune system, or have any medical condition, or is undergoing any certain treatment which can correlate to the infection or the virus. So the CBSA officer will deny that particular place as a quarantine facility, and then they might ask you to join in or take an opt-in as their own quarantine facility, which airport will provide you. So Again, like I said, you need to have a suitable place for quarantine, and these are the options you would have to discuss with the CBSA officer if you don't have any. But for our Niagara College students, we want to prepare yourself much in advance, and as you know, we are working on it, and then we will come up with our plan, making public very shortly. So what you would have to do while you have to travel, you would have to practice physical distancing. So you can only use a private transportation. If you are coming with a family, you decide to rent a car. Lots of the services in Canada and airport are contactless, but make sure you're not making any unnecessary stops. If you have to go for food, make sure you're only doing drive-throughs. And then, like I said, if you're in transit, you have to remain in your vehicle as much as possible. You're not allowed to stay in hotels. If you need to pay for gas, pay at the pump. Do not go inside the store. You need food, go through drive-thrus. If you need the rest area, make sure you have your mask on all times and make sure you're mindful for your physical distancing. So what is happening while you're in quarantine? So there's things which are very must and you need to follow, because quarantine in Ontario right now is a quarantine act. It's a law, so you have to follow. It's mandatory. You have to stay in your place for quarantine for 14 days. You're not allowed to leave for any reason unless you need medical attention. You're not allowed to use public transportation, buses, taxi. You're not allowed to have visitors for those 14 days. You cannot go to school, work, or a public area. So it's going to be a little bit tough, but it's for health. Health and safety is the first priority for everybody. And you need to make sure the arrangements of basic necessities like medication, cleaning supplies, food, all that has been arranged for you. And how will that work is all those services has to be delivered to you. Most likely how we are trying to design it, that your meals, your cleaning facilities, if you need your linens change, your bed sheet change, your towels change, it will all be dropped up outside your room, and then the person will leave, then you can come and grab it. And then there'll be certain times when you're allowed to leave all the empty dishes, all your used towels and linens and stuff outside, and there'll be a certain hour where the cleaning staff will come pick it. It's very important that you maintain your personal hygiene, so wash your hands as often as possible. Do not touch your face, cover your mouth and nose, sneezing, and limit your contact with others. But again, once you are in a quarantine facilities, it's most likely be you in that room only for those 14 days. And again, like I said, you're not allowed to have any visitors. There's no going out for just a smoke, or no going out just to see a friend, because if you do caught breaking your quarantine, the rules in Canada are very strict. So this document is available on Government of Canada's website, or you can just go canadahealth.ca and just write COVID-19. This will be the first document which appears. It does have a telephone number for Ontario Public Health in case if you have any particular question just before your arrival. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen right now. Again, I'm just going to have a quick look at a Q&A if there's something I can address right now.
Thanks, Karan. I saw a couple questions, but they asking the supporting letter, to come to Canada. Of course, we will answer later. And
yes, and additional to that, once we do come out with our quarantine plan, and you do opt in with going with Niagara College quarantine plan, we will give you all these details as part of a package where you have all that information already written, laid out by college, that where you will be quarantined, how you will be getting your meals, how we will be doing wellness checks to you, and all that. So that will be a very good supporting document to you to present at when you arrive to a CBSA officer as well.
So that means they need to prepare for their travel planning, right?
Yes, it's very important right now. Without that, CBSA officer can fully deny their entry to Canada. So presenting a quarantine plan is a very big part. If you go to the IRCC's website as well, the RCC website also is very clear, and I'm pretty sure Paul will go in detail about it. But the RCC website is also clear because as per currently the travel exemption for the people who have study permit for March 18, even for those students, they have to show their quarantine plan details.
Thank you. I saw so many questions regarding the supporting letter, and then also people who study of course fully online. Do they need to come to Canada? They want to come to Canada, study online in class in Canada, something like similar question. I saw that, and then we will also answer that question during our ISA updating by Paul Kelly. So please a little bit wait, and also.
Yes.
Please, our staff, if you have a chance to visit our Q&A chart, so visit there, and then please answer our student question. Also, attendant, please remember, if you have any question, please write down a Q&A chat box. So you can see that besides chat box, there is a Q&A. So you can type in any question, put there. So our staff will answer immediately, or we will also answer our end of our section. Thank you, Karan.
Perfect.
So we
thank
have
you,
to,
Eric.
thank you. We have to move to our Natalie. So event and engagement. Natalie, are you ready?
Yep. Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. So today I'm going to talk to you about our orientation as well as our pre-orientation activities. So I'm just going to share my screen.
Okay, very good. Yeah, we can see.
So for student engagement, what we'd like to let everybody know is that we're going to be starting with our NC Ready kickoff. So this is all of our orientation and pre-orientation activities, and that will be starting on Tuesday, August the 4th. So it's very important to remember that all of our orientation activities, all of our pre-orientation activities are going to be remote. You will not come to campus for orientation. Okay, so this involves everything about orientation. You will not be coming to campus. That's very important. So we've had a few students ask about when they can come and pick up their student cards, things like that. So please remember, all of these actions will be happening virtually. If you're living in Canada, then you need to do an online photo submission and make sure that your address is up to date in your NC portal, and then your student card will be mailed to you. If you are not living in Canada during fall term, then you won't get a student card until you come to Canada. So that's been a question that I've been getting lots of emails about. So I just wanted to clarify that. So starting on August 4th, using the college website, you'll be able to see our whole calendar of events for our live chats, our academic presentations, our service area presentations, our student government presentations. And for all of our presentations, we'll also be having question and answer sessions and much more. This is also a great opportunity for you to be able to get in touch with some of our returning students. So these are students who have been in our program term 2, term 3, and so they'll be able to give you lots of great information about being a Niagara College student. The next important date to look at is our remote post-secondary and graduate orientation. And so these will be taking place over 2 days. Friday, September the 4th is our international based orientation. And so that is the time where you'll be getting, that information session with your international student advisor, your information session with your housing and settlement advisor, as well as information about immigration, information from our healthcare provider, and lots of great opportunities to meet virtually other students who will be in your program. Now on Tuesday, September the 8th, that's when our college-wide orientation is running. And during this orientation, you'll get lots of great information about your specific program. So be able to meet virtually with your professors and be able to get some answers and hear a presentation about what your program is going to look like. So again, even if you're in a hybrid program, and so you will be coming to campus sometimes, you will not be coming to campus for your orientation. So both Friday, September 4th and Tuesday, September 8th will be happening virtually, and you will get those links through emails, but also off of our website, okay? The next program orientation is our remote English for academic preparation, and that orientation will be happening on Thursday, September the 3rd, as well as Friday, September the 4th. Now, this is really important for you to attend these days. Again, information, you get to meet and greet with all of your teachers, but also for our EAP classes, we have our language assessment tests that happen on these days. And these are very important for you to be put in the correct level so you can start classes on Wednesday, September the 9th. Okay, so those are days to keep in mind. The other important thing is soon we're going to be rolling out our BNC Ready app. And so that will be launched by the end of the month. And this app is great. It's a great tool to use to connect with other students, with staff. It's a great place to be able to get your questions answered. So the most up-to-date information about all orientation, pre-orientation, as well as activities happening into the semester will be on this app. You can use this app to be able to connect with our PAL mentors. So those are our pre-arrival link mentors. These are student volunteers who have been trained to meet with and chat with new students to be able to help you answer some of your questions. We'll also have our peer mentors, and those are our academic mentors that run through the Center for Leadership and Engagement. And so they'll also be on the app and be able to answer your academic questions about your programs. So lots of great touch points, and we'd really like, as soon as it's available, it will be all over the website and social media, but we really strongly recommend that all of our students do download the BNC Ready app.
Wow.
So lots of great ways to connect, and we're looking forward to virtually meeting all of you.
Thank you, Natalie. So do you think how often students need to checking their website, our Niagara College website, or their email?
So right now, I wouldn't worry about it in July, but starting on August 4th, we will be sending out weekly emails. So make sure you're checking your emails. All of those will have the links, but we'll also have all the events posted weekly on the college orientation website. And so from there, let's say we had a health and wellness presentation on the 5th of August and you missed it. Well, don't worry too much. We will be putting all the recordings up there as well. So if you've missed a session, or maybe you were working or something when a session was running, all the recordings will be there as well. So that website is going to be a great place for you to be able to get all of those links, but also to get a lot of questions answered. So emails happening once a week, checking back at the website, but also having the app, because the app will be able to push out notifications to your phone, be able to keep the most up-to-date information about everything going on.
Wow, very good. Thank you so much, Natalie.
No problem. Thank you, Eric.
Yes, let's move to our academic spotlights. We have a special guest, Damian Goldon, our Associate Dean, School of Hospitality and Tourism. Damian?
Hello, everybody. Thank you,
please.
Eric, and thank you, Karan and Natalie, for kind of opening this conversation up. I've been looking at the questions that have been coming forward in the Zoom meeting, also looking at the chat. So my focus that was requested about International was to give you a bit of an academic point of view, but I am noticing that several of the questions are non-academic, and it makes a lot of sense. Your priority right now is enrolling in the programs, selecting classes, getting through the quarantine, and understanding how that transition to Canada and Niagara College works. And that takes you about till, I'd say, September 8th. And then really things kick in for me and my peers as of September 8th when your classes start. And so I'm the Associate Dean for the School of Hospitality, Tourism, and Sport. I've been with Niagara College for 25 years. I celebrate 25 years this August. And because of my role as an Associate Dean, there's actually 12 of us at Niagara College that run the 9 schools at Niagara College. I am also part of the School of Business. So I'm very familiar with how someone in the chat who's in business general and others that are in international business. So I'm very familiar with those programs. I attend weekly meetings, sometimes I feel like daily meetings with my peers. So I have a good handle on how we're going to be delivering the content over the next, I guess, couple semesters is important for you. But the way I'm going to present my thoughts to you is that at a minimum, you're all with us for 2 years. And even though right now it's July and we're thinking about getting here to Canada and thinking about getting in the program and then starting in the fall with either in-class, hybrid, or online, your journey with us is for 2 years. So I've got 5 things I want to address, and I appreciate the International Department for helping me create this agenda focused on things that are important to you maybe at this time. So the commentary I have is with how do you adapt in the fall? How do you find success over a 2-year minimum? But understanding maybe what's in front of you right now and information that's important. But I want to go back to something Natalie said, and I want to just reinforce the importance, the absolute importance of you attending those orientation sessions and the Kickstart programs. You're from all around the world. You're probably at different time zones, as Karan said, so it's definitely a good morning or a good afternoon or a good evening to you. Those sessions were designed to give you information so that you can start your classes and your programs successfully. Sometimes people look at orientation or kickoff meetings as these kind of rah-rah, welcome to your college or university. Definitely, we want to celebrate you joining us, but there's critical key information that we share with you to help you find success. When students don't attend those sessions, we see in the first few weeks how they stumble and fall, and how they have questions and they go to their international student advisor, and then there's a lineup. When you come to Niagara College, Welland or Niagara Lake campus, they're gorgeous campuses, completely revamped. The International Student Center areas, they're just fantastic. And the staff in International are so customer service oriented, you'll feel comfortable. But there's a lot of students who don't attend the orientations and the kickoffs, so sometimes there's lineups. So I stress to you to please attend these virtual sessions. Take notes. I always say this all the time. If you don't have a pen and a paper, you're not learning. Take notes. You will be able to start your semester off successfully in September. It'll minimize some of the concerns and anxiety you have, because once you get past week 1 or 2, we're teaching. We're also testing. And if you are unfamiliar with what we're teaching and what we're testing and the systems and the rules, you will not start off successfully. So I really want to put a plug in for what Natalie said and how important it is. Plus, you get to meet your peers. And that's one of the things that we're working so hard for all of you, particularly the ones that are going to be studying online or hybrid and not being face-to-face in class, is we want you to feel like you're a part of our college community. And meeting other students that are going to be studying with you is part of it. Also, meeting your faculty members. Like I said, I've been teaching at Niagara College for a long time, and now I'm an associate dean for the past 4 years. It's interesting, when students come into the classroom, they all sit down in a seat. And the person who you happen to sit with next to in class becomes your buddy for the entire semester. Those of you that are going to be in hybrid or online, you won't have that. So we want to create that through these kickoff sessions, through these orientation sessions, but also the orientation is with your faculty and your coordinators and your peers on September 8th, to build that sense of community within your program so you feel welcomed and you know all the supports that are going to be there for you to help you find success over the first semester, but also during that 2-year journey that you're going to be with us in Niagara College. So I spent a few minutes plugging what Natalie said because it's so important. It's just critical. And we want you to be successful. We want every single one of you to be successful. So there's 5 things that I'm going to address to kind of help you understand what we've been doing. The first one is online and offline delivery. So every program, so at Niagara College, we are part of the Ontario College system. And one of the things that's so unique about Niagara College is that we are applied, which means we're hands-on. That means the things that you're going to do for your employer when you graduate, you get practice and experience in the classroom. So for those programs, over a 2-year journey, we typically start with more theoretical concepts. And then once you master that theoretical concept, in the next semester, we'll give you a little bit of doing and theory. And then when you move into the next year, you do more doing, theoretical, but more doing, so that by the time you graduate, you've started off with theory, moved into a little bit of theory hands-on, then you end off with heavy hands-on in theory. So for those programs where we know they're very theoretical in the first semester, you're pretty much going to be online. the program will have listed that already. It was public on June 15th that your program's an online program. 6 courses typically is the load that you'll take online. The others is the offline delivery, the hybrid. So some programs, you really need to be there for a couple classes, but then your computer, your math class can be online. I know our culinary programs, environmental programs, nursing programs, those programs are either going to be hybrid or they're going to be on campus. Because right away, some of that theory, if you think about a nursing program or an automotive program, some of that theory has to be in some of our state-of-the-art labs for you truly to get the learning that you need to be successful. So you already know whether you're online or offline. I'll talk a little bit more about the online piece, because I think that's the complicated piece. The traditional classroom delivery, you've experienced it. You understand what that's going to be like. I can tell you that over the past couple of weeks, we have been, well, truth of the matter is, in May, we started working on what fall would look like. In June, we made the decisions of which courses would be and programs would be online and offline. We actually have students on campus right now. The Ontario government has allowed some students to come back on campus, some of the technical programs. So we're learning a lot about how we create that safe space for you so that you feel comfortable to learn. And it's been fantastic. Several of the members that are staff that are on this call right now were at a meeting with myself and our president a few days ago, and we're hearing that students are confident in the classroom right now based on the protocols that we've put in to protect all of you and the teachers and to create a safe place for you. So in that space, you can feel confident that we've taken all the precautions to create a safe space for you when you're learning at Narra College if you're going to be offline in class. The second topic is asynchronous versus synchronous. And these might be technical terms that you're going to hear about in the coming weeks, and I just want to help define it. Asynchronous means you can learn, but you don't have to be in a classroom. And I mean classroom could be a traditional classroom or online at an exact specific time. A teacher, so I have taught online classes for years. One of the reasons why I was hired in 1999 before I was to build a program that was completely online. And asynchronous, the benefit for the teacher and the student is the teacher will use the entire 7 days, the entire week to teach you. And you will have the entire week to learn, to demonstrate that you understand the content, and if it's an evaluation week where there's a test, to be tested. There is no Monday at 8:30 class when it's asynchronous. Synchronous is slightly differently. You still have that online setting where you're learning, but the teacher's going to say 8:30 Monday morning, there's going to be a 45-minute class of that 3-hour class. And then the other 2 hours and 15 minutes, or maybe it might be all 3 hours online. Doubt it, but maybe. There'll be activities that you'll do. We are very conscious that 8:30 Monday morning in Canada could be 8:30 at night. So we have built a system so that all students entering into Narra College, the norm is going to be asynchronous delivery. So there will not be, if you're online, I don't want to say there will not be. There may be a special situation that occurs, but we're working very hard to make sure that there isn't an 8:30 Monday morning class, because with the time difference, it would be 8:30 at night, and that's unfair. And because we have students from all around the world and in Canada and Niagara studying, it would be unfair. So what we've done is encourage teachers to deliver in that asynchronous model, to look at the entire week to deliver the journey of learning. Also, if a teacher says, you know what, I'm going to run a class on Monday at 8:30, and for you, it's Monday at 8:30 in the evenings, but for the teacher, for us, it's 8:30 in the morning, they're going to videotape and record that class. So say you can't make it. Say you can't make that synchronous class. It's going to be recorded. It's going to be uploaded to the internet. We use a system called Blackboard, so you can watch it. And there's no penalty. There's no effect on your grade because you couldn't attend it, because it's recorded and you can revisit it on your own time. And the benefit of recording, especially for people that have English as their second language, is you can watch it a couple times. And then you can see that statement that I'm a little confused with that sentence. What was the teacher trying to say? You can replay it. And you can also get together with a few friends, maybe through Zoom or MS Teams or Facebook Live or whatever format you use, and you can watch it together and you can talk about it. So we will be recording our lectures and placing them on the internet. Blackboard is our learning management system, so that you can watch it afterwards. And we really have actually figured out that that's become a real positive for students, whether they be domestic or international students, so that they can review the lecture. How many of you have been in class, teacher says something, you didn't write it down, what did he say, what did she say? But now that it's recorded, you can go back and relive that learning experience. So synchronous and asynchronous, I wanted to define for you. Third thing is class times. So I have several programs that I'm responsible for. Some of them are going to be online completely. Some of them are going to be on campus. So when it comes to the online, when you go and pick your schedule, if you're an online class, you won't see a schedule. You won't see class times because we've encouraged our teachers to be asynchronous, which means they look at the entire week. So when you start classes on September 8th, your teachers will explain to you the routine, when they will share their lecture, when they will expect to have a conversation with you in the class, when your due dates are. So each teacher will then give you something. Your job, and we teach you this in the first few weeks, is time management, is to take out a calendar. So I've got one right here, my little calendar. You take out a calendar and you write down, okay, my math class, they're posting information on Mondays. My computer class, they're posting information on Tuesdays. You'll build your schedule for yourself. But remember, if it's asynchronous, the approach is you typically will have the week to complete that journey of learning. When it's a regular class, so you say you're coming to Canada and you're going to be on campus, whether it be the Welland campus, which holds a lot of our trade type programs, nursing programs, or the Niagara Lake campus, which is culinary and environment and esthetician, you will get a schedule. And we've worked really hard, literally this week, toward the campus, to build schedules that minimize how students come in through one door and exit through another door. If it's the same door, how do they come in and out? Also, when you look at your schedule, we try to build time in between classes so that they can be cleaned. We've also have larger programs, so you'll be in what we call a section. Say you're in a class that has 90 students or 80 or 100 students, but the lab only has 24 spots. So we're trying to keep you with those 24 students, and something that Karan talked about in terms of contact tracing and COVID-19, try to minimize your impact with other students, which minimizes the potential for issues, but also creates a healthy space. So your schedules, typically, because we have less programs running, will be typically 8:30 to 4:30-ish. There might be a class that goes to 5:30 or 6:30. That's a big might. It all depends on the availability of labs. But because we're not going to have a lot of students on campus, because a lot of students are going to be online, it frees up rooms. So generally Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30 is a nice kind of way of thinking it through, with an occasional exception. And time in between classes so we can clean the classes and the labs, and allowing you to stay with that group of students that you've been clustered into with that class. So when it came to the third topic of estimated class times, I hope that gives you a sense of things. Technology, and I have a few more minutes before I hand this off to my peers. Technology, it is critical that you have a laptop type resource. I know some of you use your phone and you talk on Skype, FaceTime on your phone, but you need a webcam, you need a mic, you have to be able to access, we're on Zoom right now, the college from a delivery point of view, we use Zoom to interact with the community at large, but we use MS Teams. We are Microsoft is our provider, so MS Teams is a Microsoft product. We also use Blackboard. The ideal resource is a laptop with a camera and a mic. That would be ideal. That way it's portable. There are tablets out there that you can buy that have keyboards. If you can access Microsoft Word, because you'll be working on Word, Excel, and PowerPoint quite a bit, that's fine. But my recommendation is a laptop. And from what I understand, International can explain this a little more effectively. It is a minimum expectation that you have that technology, webcam, mic, be able to access Zoom, MS Teams, and Blackboard, which is our online learning management system. Wi-Fi is pretty readily available around here. I don't think you have to worry about that challenge, but keep that at the back of your mind. The last one is textbooks. And each teacher will deliver things. I'm just looking at I'm gonna go to the questions and answers in a second. Typically, you come to class, you go to the bookstore, you get the textbook. Those of you that are going to be on campus, and there'll be a textbook that's required. The bookstore, I actually met with the bookstore myself personally Tuesday. They'll have a whole system for you to get your book, and it's pretty well organized. They'll be refining it over the summer to perfect it. Like I said, some students started on July 6th, which allowed us to test a lot of our systems. So it'll be perfected by the time all of you arrive. Those of you that are taking online classes, or there is no textbook, either or, it'll just be online readings. And the teacher will post links or give you the actual document inside Blackboard. That's why it's so critical that you have Blackboard access. There are going to be some occasions where what we're using actually is e-textbooks. A lot of the publishers in Canada have taken their textbooks and converted them into an e-version. It always existed. There's so many publishers that had e-version textbooks, but because of COVID-19, they've rushed over these past spring and summer months to flip their textbooks to e-learning, so that way everybody's got access to it. So your teacher will communicate that to you. So again, orientation on September 8th sets all that information out for you. You'll meet your teachers, you'll go through that first week, attend class. First week is critical. Don't think, okay, first week they're not really going to teach us anything. Attend those virtual online classes, or if it's in class, you have to attend. It's when the teacher will walk through all that information about testing and textbooks and class participation, which sets you up for success. So the 5 things I dealt with was, what is the difference between online and offline? The difference between asynchronous and synchronous, estimated class times and how that'll work, whether it's on campus or off campus. Talked about technology. And by the way, we've had some issues over the past, since COVID-19 came in March. Each of you need your own laptop. I highly recommend that you do not share a laptop. It has led to many issues. You each need your own laptop. And then finally, digital textbooks and a system for accessing textbooks when you're on campus is in place. So Eric, hopefully I kind of tackled the 5 issues that you and the team have requested, and I'll answer any questions when the time is right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Damien. Just to quickly, one question I have it will be good to you answer right away. So it will be depends on the program or how we deliver the online class. So she asking, it's time zone different. Maybe it's Canada, and then she's from India, so it's different. So what about our School of Hospitality and Tourism? It also depends on teacher, am I right, or course?
Well, I can tell you for specifically hospitality and tourism sport, all first semester courses are taught online except for esthetician, online and asynchronous. Okay. So that means we're looking at the entire week. There won't be a class time. So say, so they don't have to worry about that. All my instructors have been told that's the expectations. That's what they're doing. Some teachers will run a class on occasion based on the type of content that you have delivered, but they're going to video record it. So if you miss it, you just watch the video.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Damien. Yes, we also have a good section, end of our section, Q&A section. So we will also answer more to your question. So please hold at the time. And now we have a move to ISA updating from Paul Kelly. Paul?
Hi, thanks, Eric. Hi.
Yeah. Paul, so, yeah, before you start, I have 8 list of questions here I write down, all related with supporting letter. And then when they need to apply, arrive. And what about the online class in Canada or in their country? And then program ability, and then flight. So, so all these kinds of questions, I have at 8 here. So hopefully you can cover during your presentation. Thank you.
Eric, I'm surprised. You only have 8 questions for me. I'm a little disappointed. I expected more. So what I'll do is, first of all, I'll say hello, introduce myself. I'll go through my presentation, and then I'll circle back to some of the questions towards the end. We have a question answer session at the end. And I will point out as well, I've been furiously answering as many questions as possible in the question and answer. So thank you to the students who have been posting the questions in the Q&A. Please continue to put them in there because we do have time at the end of the session to answer some more. I've been doing my best to keep up, but so far there's been more questions than I had time to answer. So hopefully my colleagues can continue to do that whilst I'm presenting. So I will start to share my screen, but I'll also introduce myself as well. So my name is Paul Kelly. I am an international student advisor at the college. That's my job title. But within that, my qualification is as an RCIC. So an RCIC is a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. And that means that I am allowed to advise on immigration matters. So we have a team of 6 advisors at the college. I'm just one of those 6, and they're divided between our 2 campuses in Niagara-on-Lake and Welland. So I'm here today to provide a overview of the latest information about travel and immigration. Eric, Karan, someone, can you just confirm that you can see my my screen here and the PowerPoint?
Yes, I can.
I can see the screen.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Natalie and Eric. So it's obviously a very complicated area. There's a lot of detail and a lot of individualism with this topic. So again, I'm going to do my best to provide a general overview, provide you with some of the main points and answer some of the main questions that we are receiving. But I would always caution at the start of this, there are a couple of things. First of all, immigration advice is quite individualized. Something that may be true for one person may not be true for another person. A lot of it depends upon your location, your type of application, even the dates that you have applied or have submitted documents, for example. So if you have any specific individual questions, you can use the chat here today, or you can send an email to the college as well. I'll provide you the email at the end of the presentation. The other thing I want to stress as well is that this information is accurate as of today. Last night, this morning, I was checking, making sure everything I had was the most up-to-date information. And as many of you will know, this information is changing regularly, and I mean very regularly. Some of the information that I have here to share was just posted this week, and we still do not have the final details about those recent updates that came through this week. So it's just a good example of how quickly the situation is evolving and how quickly things are changing. So one thing I will say is the answers that we have today may be different in a week or a month's time. We do still have a little bit of time before the September start of term. So it's very possible that some things will change between now and the start of term. It's important that you guys stay up to date with the latest information. And the best way you can do that is to join these sessions here every Friday that we're hosting. So there's a few links here which provide information to the current regulations. Obviously, you can't click on this right now because it's on Zoom. So what I will do, when I finish, I will post these links into the chat in the Zoom. So if you want to click on them and read them for yourself, then you'll be able to do that after I finish with the presentation. Okay, so let's address one of the biggest questions first of all, traveling to Canada. What are the current regulations and restrictions that are in place right now? So this is a summary. It's picking out the main points from the current regulations. It's not comprehensive and covers every situation, but I think it will cover most things. On the right-hand side there, you can see a statement from IRCC, which was recently released, and it discusses the general implications of the travel restrictions. So essentially what it's saying is that as a result of COVID-19, most foreign nationals are not able to travel unless they meet specific exemptions. And one of the biggest restrictions that is in place right now is this last sentence here that talks about non-essential or discretionary travel to Canada. So what's important to note is that even if a person sometimes meets some of the exemptions, if our border services, so that would be the CBSA, Canadian Border Services Agency, if they deem a travel or a person's travel to be non-essential, then even if you meet the exemptions, you may still not be allowed to travel. So it's very important to know that there are several factors at play here. There's IRCC, which is our Immigration, Refugees, Citizenship Canada. They make the regulations. They're involved in making the regulations and the delivery of instructions for immigration and applications. But we then have our border services as well, who are in charge of controlling the people that actually come and land at the border or get on an aeroplane to fly to the Canadian border. And they do still have kind of a blanket authority to be able to allow or deny entry to the country to anyone who is not a Canadian citizen. So that's important to keep in mind. On the left side here then, I've split it down into the two sections of who can potentially attempt to travel to Canada and who should not make plans based on our current regulations today. So here, you can attempt to travel to Canada. First of all, if there are flights. Of course, if there are restrictions in your home country, if your airports are closed, then of course you're not going to be able to travel. So the first thing would be, is it actually possible to travel and fly? If your program is still being delivered for the fall term, there are a couple of cases where the program has been suspended for the fall term, but if your program is still being delivered and it requires you to be on campus, that is, it has what we call a hybrid delivery. That means at least some element is on campus and you are required to be here in Niagara to attend the college in the fall. And you have a study permit or have been approved for a study permit before March 18, 2020. So those are quite specific conditions right now. You need to already have a study permit or have been approved before March 18, have delivery on campus in the fall, and of course be able to try and find a flight and travel with the airports being open and restrictions in your home country allowing you to do so. In the second section here, people who should not be currently making plans to travel to Canada. If you have a study permit approval after March 18th, so maybe you have received your study permit approval, but it came to you in the summer after March 18, or of course, if you've not yet received approval. If your program is being delivered fully online in the fall, so that means you do not need to be here physically present in Canada, in Niagara to study, or if you, of course, you cannot travel, if there are no flights, if your airports are closed because of restrictions, then of course there's no way that you're going to be able to travel. So be careful with the ands and ors here. If you look at the top section, you'll notice that each bullet point is an and. You need to meet all three of those criteria to even be allowed to attempt to travel. In the bottom section here, it's or. That means if you meet any of those criteria, then you should not be making plans to travel right now. Again, I will stress this is based on the current regulations. This may change between now and September, but we can only advise based on our current regulations that we have right now. I hope that answers a lot of the questions that I was receiving in the question and answer earlier. I can come back to this again later on if people have more questions or follow up, but for now I just want to move forward to a section here about study permits. So, the first bullet point here is important to remind people that IRCC is acknowledging that people may not be able to come to Canada because of the restrictions. And they are offering various possibilities for studying through distance learning from overseas. They are still encouraging applicants to apply. So the Government of Canada and IRCC are encouraging students to apply for their study permits via their website, via canada.ca. And even if their local consulates or visa application centers are closed, you can still submit that application. It doesn't mean you may be able to finish the application right now, but you can still begin the application and submit at least that initial stage to the website, because it is an online application for a study permit. Okay, here's some recent updates then. So on July 14, that was just earlier this week, a few days ago, the Minister of IRCC announced a temporary implementation of a two-stage approval for study permits applications overseas. At the moment, I'm going to skip ahead to the red message at the bottom here because it's very, very important to stress. At the moment, these changes were only announced a few days ago, and it is an intention to implement a new process. It has not yet been put into the regulations, and we do not have any specific details about how this will actually be implemented by the consulates or visa offices overseas. We have a rough description, a broad outline of what the process will involve, but in terms of the actual regulations, the actual documentation that officers would be using, that has not been published yet. So we're hoping for some more updates in the coming days and weeks about this, but I just have to caution that this is just at the moment, it's an intention to implement the temporary two-stage approval. So this two-stage approval has been put in place for people, for students who are looking to apply for a study permit to study in the fall 2020 term and are going to submit their application before September 15, 2020. Now, of course, if you're going to study in the fall term, Damien mentioned earlier about the start of the term is earlier than that in September. So of course you would be submitting your study permit application, hopefully well before September 15. But that is what IRCC are saying would be the cutoff point for this temporary process anyway. So here's what it says in the middle here. This bit that is in quotes from here down to the red message is a direct quote from the IRCC website. And again, the link is at the bottom. I can share that with you in the chat. But it says here, the temporary stages for approval are approval in principle and then eligibility and admissibility. So applicants who pass the approval in principle stage, that's the first stage, includes showing that they have been accepted to a Canadian learning institution, so that would be having a letter of acceptance, that they have the available funds, that means you have enough money and you have proof of that money to be able to study, and that you are otherwise eligible for a study permit. So the phrase otherwise eligible is quite vague. We don't have any more specifics on that at the moment. And it says they will be notified of a first step approval. Next bullet point. Once the approval in principle is issued, so that means after the applicant has received confirmation that they have been approved for the first stage, applicants can begin studying online abroad and have that time counted towards their postgraduate work permit, provided they meet other criteria and they are eventually receive full approval of their study permit. So let's break that down a little bit. For context, when a person studies normally, before the changes, if a person were to study overseas from abroad, that time would not count towards a postgrad work permit, normally. So what this is saying is that if a person received the first stage approval for their study permit, then they will allow that time studying overseas, in the online, of course, to count towards a postgrad work permit application. But it is conditioned that that person must then go on to receive a study permit. So you must also pass the second stage approval and actually travel to Canada, land in Canada, and later receive your study permit. So it is conditional on that point. Last bullet point, an applicant will receive final approval once they meet all eligibility and admissibility requirements, including submitting biometrics. So biometrics are the fingerprints, and other necessary documents such as medical exams and police certificates. That varies from country to country. Not all countries require those, but some countries do. I've put it in bold here, only once a final approval is received will an applicant be able to travel to Canada. So again, I must stress, receiving the initial first stage approval does not mean that you are guaranteed to get a study permit. It could still be rejected at the second stage. And it certainly does not mean that you will be able to travel to Canada. Of course, if it is rejected at the second stage, then you will not be able to receive the visa and travel to Canada. Okay, so that's brand new. Like I said, just to reiterate, we are still looking for specific details in this new regulation, and we hope to have some more information soon. A little bit about the postgraduate work permit then as well. I've discussed this a little bit already, but students falling to one of the following categories, and this is the bold section underneath, will remain eligible for the postgraduate work permit if at least 50% of their total program is completed in Canada. Applicants have to submit additional documents later on, but these two categories here, if we read them carefully, it says study permit holders who have already begun their studies in Canada but left Canada to go home. So I think most people here are new applicants, so this probably doesn't apply to you. The second bullet point though, applicants, I'm reading here, second bullet point, applicants who have been approved for a study permit to begin a program in May, June, or fall 2020, and who will begin their program online from their home country instead of traveling to Canada at this time. So again, for context, and just to be clear on the wording here, this is for students who have been approved for a study permit. So that means you've received your letter of invitation, and normally you would be traveling to Canada, but of course, the restrictions are in place. This was in place before the announcement on the previous page that I talked about that came out on July 14. So this is for applicants who have a study permit approval and are going to be studying online in the fall. What it is saying is that you will still be eligible for your postgrad work permit so long as at least 50% of the total program is in Canada. That means you come to Canada at a later date, and that at least 50% is whilst you are here physically in Canada. Again, it's talking here under normal circumstances that distance learning would not count. However, they're making an exception. This third bullet point here for students that are in Canada currently, if any of you are in Canada right now, if your courses that would have been in class are moving online, then that will not affect your eligibility for the postgraduate work permit, and that's for people that are already here in Canada. Next bullet point here, if you have a study permit or have been approved for a study permit, so this goes back to this point up here at the top, for a program starting in spring, summer, or fall, but you cannot travel to Canada due to the restrictions, you are still eligible for the postgrad work permit. And again, it just gives a few more specifics here. In this situation, you can begin your classes whilst outside of Canada, and you can complete up to 50% of your program whilst outside of Canada. So that ties in with the part at the top about making sure you come to Canada to finish at least 50% in Canada. And then the last bullet point confirms again that you would not have the time that you spend studying online deducted from your postgraduate work permit application when you eventually graduate and you finish and you apply for your postgraduate work permit. So any time that you are spending studying online from outside of Canada, for students who have the approval, remember this is for students who have the approval for a study permit, then they will not deduct the time from the for the fall term. So that's up until December 31st, 2020. They will not deduct that time from the duration of your postgraduate work permit. And again, I've got to stress, this is for students who have been approved for a study permit. Whether it's the previous approval or it's the new two-step process, they have to have been approved. Students who have not been approved for a study permit at all would not have that time counted towards a postgraduate work permit. Okay, a few things to know. I'll go through this pretty quickly here, but of course you need to know and be aware of the travel restrictions both in Canada and in your home country. It's very important you're aware at both ends. Make sure you're staying up to date. Join these Friday Zoom sessions. Make sure you read the IRCC and CBSA websites and our Niagara College websites regularly. Karan has already spoken earlier about the quarantine and the arriving in Canada, and the BNC Ready modules, Natalie was talking about that earlier as well. So that's the orientation and the information sessions that Damien also referenced in his presentation. And you need to make sure that as well as being ready in terms of your immigration and everything I'm talking about here, you do still have to be academically ready as well. It's very important that you don't lose focus on the main reason why you're applying to come to study, which would be your academics. Again, I will post these links in the chat, so I'll put them in the chat room on Zoom so you can have a look at them later on. And I just want to say thank you from the team. So I mentioned at the start, there's a team of 6 advisors. There's myself there, the third one along. And the other advisors working at the campus are on these sessions as well in some of the other weeks. So an email, if you have any questions, you can email our international@niagaracollege.ca. Please be sure to include your student number in any email communication. It's almost impossible to know who you are unless you give us your student number in that communication. Okay, with that, I will stop the screen share and join back in. Eric, I don't know if you were keeping tabs of your questions there, but I think hopefully I answered a few of them. I think,
wow.
are we moving to the Q&A session now? Is that what's next?
Yes, because another question we have it, and also thank you so much for your presentation.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, you cover all of the things, and I have just to summarize the key question. Supporting letter, or the student they asking supporting letter, when their program hybrid model, and they already have a visa before March 18 and after March 18, but their program delivery by online and also by in person, so like a hybrid course. So they asking another college will send or provide supporting letter when they come to or arrive Canada.
Yeah, so unless, I mean, Fernando or James, I don't know if they're here on this one, who might be able to give any more updates on this, but my current understanding is that yes, the college will be providing students who have a hybrid delivery. So that's a program that requires some kind of participation on campus in the fall, that those students will be receiving a supporting letter to explain that that is the delivery of the program. So that, to be clear, that letter just simply states that the program that the student is attending requires their in-person attendance. But and it's important to reiterate that again, the final decision lies with also the airline as well. The airline have the final decision to fly, and CBSA border security. So it's not a guarantee that students will be able to travel, but it is something they could use to assist with that process.
And also another question, I believe these students already receive a visa before March 18. However, her visa expired on November.
Mm-hmm.
The student asking, is it necessary to come to Canada before expire her visa? Her program is, we don't know, her program is online or hybrid model, but
right.
What do you think?
Well, yeah, so it kind of depends really on whether it's online or hybrid and whether or not you can travel. So if your program, assuming it was approved before the March 18th, if you can travel because there are flights, and then if your program is hybrid, you may be able to come based on the current regulations. So if you can enter Canada and receive your study permit, then that should be fine. You shouldn't have any problems. You may need to extend your study permit after you arrive, but that's a very simple process once you are here. If your program is online delivery in the fall, then it may be possible, it may be likely that you will not be able to travel for the fall term. So as I keep saying, things may change between now and November, right? I mean, it's possible these regulations will change and you can come here even if with an online. But at the moment with the current regulations, that might not be possible. So in that case, I would advise for now to wait because you do have time before November. But if it gets close to November, then your best option would be to contact your local visa application center or your local Canadian consulate, wherever it is that you applied, and ask for an extension. Obviously, stating the current situation that you are not able to travel at this time and that you're hoping to come to Canada later, perhaps in January or whenever it would be, and that you would like an extension to the visa. Again, it's at the discretion of the office there, but that would be a reasonable request, I would believe.
Thank you. And also, other question, the students are not able to come to Canada because of the country restriction, their own country restriction.
Yeah.
And also, flight is a very limited flight schedule. So what they have to do is it differ or any suggestion? Their program is delivered in person.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say it depends on the program. Of course, if it's online, then you may be able to study. Of course, you know, everything is changing, right? I mean, just to reiterate again, I'm referring here to a lot of Canadian regulations, and they may change. We don't know how that's going to look in the future terms, right? Through August, September, and even into the winter, how things may change. But you know, students need to be very aware of their home country regulations as well, and that, of course, is depending where you are located. So if you are not able to travel because the airports are closed or the flights are not available at this time, then obviously you won't be able to come here, regardless of the Canadian immigration situation. The best option at that time would be probably to look at either changing to a program that has an online delivery for the fall, if that's a possible consideration for you. I know some students sometimes study two different programs and perhaps the other one may have a different delivery. Or if you're not interested in changing the program to something with an online delivery for fall, then you could look at deferring, which is delaying your studies. And again, it would depend on the program. Not every program has a start term in winter, in January as well. Many of our programs do, but not all of them. So what I would advise for situations like this, you have a little bit of time still to see if things change. But if it's becoming apparent that you're not going to be able to travel, contact our admissions team, which is the Intel Apply email, the one that you have on your letter of acceptance, or you can send it to international@niagaracollege.ca. Put your student number on there, explain the situation, and they will be able to help you with those options of either a different program or deferring your program.
Awesome, thank you. And our panelists, please just also take a look at the question Q&A box, and then So I would like to invite our regional manager. If you have any concern and question, yeah, please speak right now so we can collaborate together.
Yeah, and Eric, sorry, I just want to jump in because I did see that question from a few students as well in the chat earlier, basically asking through various different ways, what happens if I cannot come for September? And it's the same kind of answer just for those students that did ask. You know, if for some reason you're not able to travel, whatever the reason, whether it's the Canadian regulations or travel or health or whatever, then the same kind of answer applies. Your options probably are looking at something that has an online delivery for the fall and hopefully travel later, or perhaps deferring or delaying your program application. And that would be something you could send, like I said, to our admissions team or to the International at Niagara College email.
Yeah, that's good. Also, we are able to also see our program ability through our website.
Right.
So this is updating very frequently. So students who is looking for defer or the change their intake, please go to our visit website to be able to check our program ability for for winter 2021 and 2021 spring term as well.
And I'm going to just fulfill on my promise there. I'm just going to paste some of those links into the chat here as well, as I promised earlier from my presentation. So I'm going to do that right now. So in the chat feature, some of those links to IRCC and CBSA websites, I'm going to drop those in there right now for everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so any our panelist or regional manager, did you get any question from the student directly, or if you can comment, please, feel free to speak.
Hi, Eric. Hi, Paul. It's Fernando here, regional manager for the Americas. Just an update for students. We've been getting many questions in the Q&A in the chat about the supporting letters, and an update for you guys that the supporting letters for students that should be here this September to have on-campus classes, these letters will be sent automatically to students the first week of August. Okay, so if you are a current Niagara College student that are going to start your first term here in September on campus classes, keep checking your emails because you should get this letter in the first week of August, okay?
Thank you.
That's it, guys. That's it from my side.
Thank you very much, Fernando. I really appreciate that update. And I think it's maybe just timely, Eric, if you don't mind, I'm going to flip back to just go back to where I talked about the travel, right, to Canada, because it's always, I think, a good reminder whilst we have a few minutes. If you don't mind, and I'm kind of stealing the show a little bit here.
Yes, please go ahead.
But I know this was one of the main questions we had, right? So I think it's maybe worth just circling back to. So hopefully you can see that again there. I'll just leave it.
Yep, it's very clear.
So again, just talking about the travel to Canada, because there's a lot of information to take in on this page here. So I just want to go over it again. So as Fernando just mentioned, the essential travel letters will be sent to students that have an on-campus. So we're terming that hybrid delivery. Hybrid meaning that it's a mixture of on-campus and online delivery. So to be clear, even the programs that have on-campus delivery doesn't mean all of your classes will be on campus. Some of them will still be online. So hybrid means it has at least one class that is on campus. But for those programs, the students in the programs that have to be here on campus to study in the fall, hybrid delivery, then you will, as Fernando mentioned, you'll be receiving the essential travel letter. That is just part of the documentation you can use when you are trying to travel to Canada. So when you're presenting your documentation to the airline, when you first try and board the flight, when you're presenting your documentation to CBSA, which is the Canadian Border Services Agency, they are at the airport here in Canada at the border. That's one of the documents you will be using, along with your regular documentation. So for all students that are traveling to Canada, you need to, of course, take with you things like your letter of acceptance, your visa or your ETA information, depending on which one you have from your country, your information about your finances to show that you've paid your tuition fees and that you have enough money to support yourself, such as like a GCK account or bank accounts or whatever it is you're using financially. Information about where you will be living and staying. that's true even before the quarantine. So CBSA may be asking students, where are you staying? What's your travel, what's your housing situation? So of course, that's doubly important with the quarantine information now, but those documentation are still required even normally. So that letter is just an additional letter to support. And again, I want to stress, it does not guarantee that you will be able to travel, but it will hopefully help. So you need to still meet these 3 criteria if you're going to try and travel. So the first one here, again, just to recap, you can attempt to travel if there are flights, the program is online, is hybrid delivery on campus and you get the support letter, and you have a study permit already or have been approved for a study permit before March 18. That is specific to the restrictions for traveling. That is separate to the things I talked about for the postgrad work permit eligibility. This is for travel. So that is still the regulation right now today as of July 17, 2020. So it's very important to make sure you fit into that category. If you do not fit into that category, even if you have an essential studies letter, that if you get a letter from the college because your program is on campus, if you do not have the study permit issued before March 18, then you would not be able to try to travel still. So it's an and. Remember, these points, you have to meet all 3. And then down there again, I have a recap of those that should not make travel plans. Okay, thanks, Eric. I just wanted to go over that point one more time. I think it's something that can be a little confusing sometimes. So I think important.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah,
You're
just
welcome.
going to keep asking visa and also flights. So before we finished our webinar, so I just to review everything. So first, so please checking your email and also another college website regularly, because we have a stunt info section, beginning of August, so orientation information, and then stunt information, and also BNC Ready, the module will be posting. So please visiting our website regularly, and also checking your email regularly as well. And second, also our Associate Dean, Damian and Golvon mentioned to us the 5 things. So please remember 5 things, and also make sure they are joining the first week of section, the academic section, each their program, so they can fully understanding, and then they can get the full schedule of their program, of the fully online or the hybrid model, so they can get the real detail during that time. And third, also contact us and send email at international@nadacollege.ca. When you submit the email, please put your student ID. This is very important. So our staff can each to checking your information, and then we will be able to give a correct and then a very key answer to you guys. So please don't forget to put your student number so we can accommodate you very correctly. So any our panelists or our regional manager have a comment before we close our webinar? Of course, no worry. We have your Q&A, so we will also answer and then by typing. So no worry about that. We still have a couple of questions, but related to the study permit.
Yeah, Eric, I'm okay to stay on for a few more minutes. I got about another 10 minutes until I've got another meeting, so I can stay around for about 10 minutes and try and answer some more of these questions. I'll do it through the text. I'll turn off my camera and everything, and I'll just try and type some of the answers. Awesome. But I don't know if I'll get them all done. I can see there's about nearly 20 questions. I'll try my best.
And I'll stay here as well and answer the questions in the chat.
Great, thank you.
And the Q&A.
Thank you, Fernando.
Thanks, Fernando.
I'm also here, guys. I'm also helping with Q&A, okay?
Okay, awesome. It's a good team.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks very much, Eric. Really appreciate that. And to my colleagues here and people like Damien I haven't seen for a while, I think he's still there. It's good to chat. I'll hopefully see you all again really soon.
Okay, yes. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So we will stay here, so no worry. So please typing Q&A on the box. And also, everybody have a wonderful weekend. And then we will stay, 10 more minutes. Okay, thank you.
Bye, guys.
Right.